Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Oak Life. If we could. We have a bit of a more intimate worship set today since we just have singer, keys, and percussion. So it's going to be a little bit more intimate and emotional. So just prepare your hearts for that. And I pray this time would just be a time where we can all quiet ourselves, reflect on the past week, and how we want to come into this coming week, and just reflect on how the Lord is blessing us and being honest with the Lord as well. So. And also, this is a new song, I think, to Oak Life. It's called Jireh, and it's by Maverick City Music, if you guys know that group.
I'll never be more loved than I am right now. Wasn't holding you up, so there's nothing I can do to let you down. Doesn't take a trophy to make you proud. I'll never be more loved than I am right now. Going through a storm, but I won't go down. I hear your voice carried in the rhythm of the wind to call me out. You would cross an ocean so I wouldn't drown. You've never been closer than you are right now. Jireh, you are enough. Jireh, you are enough. I will be content in every circumstance. Jireh, you are enough. I'm already loved. I'm already chosen. I know who I am. I know what you've spoken. I'm already loved more than I could imagine. And that is enough. That is enough. I'm already loved. I'm already chosen. I know who I am. I know what you've spoken. I'm already loved more than I could imagine. And that is enough. That is enough. Jireh, you are enough. Jireh, you are enough. I will be content in every circumstance. Jireh, you are enough. If he dresses the lilies with beauty and splendor, how much more will he clothe you? How much more will he clothe you? If he watches over every sparrow, circumstance. Jireh, you are enough. I come to sit at your feet, to drink from the fountain of life. How it satisfies. Nowhere else do I want to be. The warmth of your heart is enough. It's enough for me. Yeah. Oh, I've come to have communion with the King, to sit at the table and dine with the highest praise. Oh, to know just what's on your mind, the secrets of heaven I live to search, to find. So hide me deep inside your heart, Lord. Cover me with your wings. Bring me into safety. Bring me into fellowship with who you are, Lord. Father, Son, and Spirit, this is all I long for. I come to sit at your feet, to drink from the fountain of life. How it satisfies. Nowhere else do I want to be. The warmth of your heart is enough. It's enough for me. So hide me deep inside your heart, Lord. Cover me with your wings. Bring me into safety. Bring me into fellowship with who you are, Lord. Father, Son, and Spirit, this is all I long for, to be in your midst. To be in your midst, Father. This my heart's desire, to know you and be known, to know you and be known. This my heart's desire, to know you and be known. to safety. Bring me into fellowship with who you are, Lord. Father, Son, and Spirit, this is all I long for, to be in your midst. To be in your midst, Father.
To those who have been excluded by Christians, to those who have gone to church their whole life, and to those who are exploring, welcome. We hope that Oak Life Church can be a home for you. If you have been rejected by the church as a person of color, as a woman, as an LGBT person, as a non-Christian, or for any other reason, we're sorry for the way you were treated. We believe that God loves you, and we would be honored by your presence. We'll tell you a little about ourselves, and we hope we can journey together. We hope to love people the way Jesus does. We don't want to judge. We want marginalized people to be welcome here, and we are still improving as an inclusive place. We long for peace and justice on earth. We build this through community service, generosity, and activism. We value community, and we value building supportive relationships with each other. We love creativity, and we love the way God speaks to us through art. We don't claim to know the truth fully, but we seek to follow Jesus, and we seek to grow together. If these are things you connect to, come visit us. We hope you will share with us who you are and help shape our community. With much love, Oak Life Church.
All right, good morning, Oak Life. How is everybody doing today? Great, good morning. So we have some announcements today, just a couple minutes for you. So we did hire a part-time childcare coordinator, yay, and that's Erica Ramsey. So if you need to, just head to the back and check in with her, and she'll get you fixed up. Next up, yes, we do have hiking group every first Saturday still, so I think that should be the next Saturday, but you can just email Leslie, and her email is also in the newsletter if you just want more information, check out how that's going on. And then we also do have LGBTQ plus life group every Thursday, 7 p.m. still going on, so if you're interested, you can also email them, David and everyone in the newsletter, also for the address and information. And yeah, so this Wednesday at 7 p.m. we'll be at Temescal Brewing, so we'll have a just hang out and have questions or just want to meet people. We'll all be there at 7. And this is the book we're reading right now, Gold Mining the Shadows, from Pixie Lighthorse. So then we will be discussing this next on Sunday, August 27th, but it is a read at your own pace book. So. And we're going to be at an A's game, so that's actually been changed to August 22nd, and more information and tickets are in the newsletter. But yeah, if you just want to talk about it or check out how many people you can bring, you just also ask about that in the newsletter. Yeah, so the Pride booth. So you can sign up through the newsletter to let them know you want to help volunteer. Actually, the Pride booth is September 10th, which is a Sunday, yeah. And so, but first we need to have a planning meeting on August 13th. So you can email Chris, and then if you want to be involved, just make sure if you can be there on August 13th to talk through everything, and being at the booth on September 10th, that'd be great. And we'll just have Chris come up for an update on this part.
Thanks, Natalie. Crushing it, first time announcements. Way to go. Just wanted to update the community for those of us who have been around for a while. Back in 2020 at the cusp of the pandemic, when we went online via Zoom, we had a pretty tragic event happen to us. And one of the ways we responded is by joining a class action lawsuit. We were Zoom bombed, I should say. And we joined with other groups to try to put pressure on Zoom to update their security and also just advocate that this shouldn't happen to any other groups. It was pretty rough for our community. And there's one of the closing loops on that process for us is there's a settlement made, and I didn't mention this last week. One of the things the judge made Zoom do is create an entire office of security. An office, I think it was called Office of Zoom Bombing, that they didn't have before. So an actual systemic change to maybe protect other groups from this happening, or if it does happen again. And we got a little settlement check for $5,000, and we donated it to, the leadership team voted to split it between two groups that do work around anti-trafficking prevention and also rescue here in the Bay Area. That's Missy, is a local group that works in trafficking, and Freedom Story does prevention in the most at-risk places in Thailand where often folks are trafficked from. So for those of us who are in the loop with that, if you have any questions about that or our process, feel free to check the newsletter, and you can always talk to me. Thanks.
Okay, so as always, if you, even just $5 or whatever you're able to during the month, you can scan here, go to Oak Life, or just go to the website /generosity. If you were here for our finance update a couple weeks ago, you can see more about that, but yeah, just whatever you're able to. Does anyone have any community announcements or lunch plans, things like that? Oh, yes, thank you.
Sorry.
That's really loud. Hi, I'm Erica. I have a community prayer request, actually. Right before we started service, a young man came in and asked if we had seen his mother. And what I was loving about that moment was he didn't know that he walked into a church. I think he was just going up and down the block asking if anyone had seen his mom. Apparently she's in the middle of having an episode and she's missing. He could not hold back the tears as he was explaining why he was looking for his mom. And so I just wondered if we could, like I said, he didn't know he walked into a church of people who know about heartbreak, but are still here at church, right? Seeking to know God and understand God. So I just wondered if we could, as a community, just know that nothing is lost in God, that God reconciles all things to himself in the most wonderful way sometimes. And if you could hold that with me and know that with me for him. His name is Joshua. So for Joshua's mom, thank you.
Anyone else have anything today? No? Okay, so I guess we can transition to chair chat. Although, again, if there's anything in here that you missed or weren't able to see, please just check out the newsletter or just email Chris or check out our website as well. It'll be updated for everything. Yeah, so time for chair chats.
Ordinary dish soaps can leave invisible grease behind.
All right, this is your 1 minute warning. 1 minute warning. Just want to say a welcome to those online, to Anth and Adeline, to the Browards, to Victor, to anyone else watching online. Welcome to you. Hope your morning's going well. Keep chatting up, and yeah, we love you guys. All right, 30 seconds. Go ahead and start wrapping up your chats. And get ready to hear from Aiden.
Hey. It makes me really happy that y'all sounded like you had very fruitful conversations on those two questions. I was debating, I was like, is this too deep, too fast? But I was like, you know what? It's going to be kind of like a deeper talk, so I thought, let's just dive right on into it. All right, if you don't know me, I'm Aiden, and I've been coming to Oak Life for 4 years now, and I am a queer trans man, and you're going to hear more about that and how it has played into me embracing my shadow self. We've heard a lot, like Chris has covered in the last 2 weeks, about like embracing your shadow self, or acknowledging that we have a shadow self. And I love shadows, and I'll tell you why. Because if you're walking in the light, that means you have a shadow. If you're in darkness, you have no shadow. So when you walk in the light, you realize you have a shadow, and it's always next to you, and it's your constant companion. And so to me, having a shadow means that I am living an enlightened life. Like, I have light in my life, and therefore I have a shadow. And if you ask yourself, are you light or are you shadow? We are both light and shadow. Like, we have both light and dark in us. There's not an either or. We're not either light or dark. We got light and dark. And your shadow is often the one who has desires or behaviors that are deemed socially unacceptable or inappropriate. So raise your hands right now if you've ever had an unacceptable desire or have committed an inappropriate behavior as defined by society. Okay, that's pretty much everyone. Good, 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 good. I'm in the right room. I'm glad. Y'all are aware of your shadows. That's great. So it's a very good thing that you have a shadow self. Why? Because if you followed society's rules, norms, and standards to a T, you'd be a very unhealthy person. because our society is profoundly sick. As Jiddu Krishnamurti put it, who's a philosopher, it is no measure of health if to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. We are in a profoundly sick society. So I'm really glad you all raised your hands, because if you followed every standard norm and rule that society has, you are part of the sickness in our world. If you look around, society glorifies greedy, selfish, narcissistic male sociopaths who do whatever it takes to gain the most money and gain the most power, like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. Sorry, I know you work at Meta, my bad. But it's not about you. Oh, okay, good. Did you all know that they both stole and betrayed to amass their wealth? What their wealth is built upon was stolen. Who started Tesla? Do you know? How many of you think it's Elon Musk? Okay, yeah, I thought so too, but when I did the research, these two guys, Martin Eberhard and Mark Taperning, founded Tesla in 2003. And Musk joined in 2004 and took over the company and pushed them out. He didn't start the concept of electric cars. He didn't start Tesla. He stole it. And Zuckerberg, when he was a second year at Harvard, he developed a website called Face Smash, where he hacked all the Harvard students' photos and sent it out for students to rank each other as either hot or not. Yeah, pretty gross. Yeah. And as for the concept of Facebook, do you know who came up with the concept of Facebook? Tom. Right, Tom from MySpace. Any other guesses? Yeah, Winklevoss twins, yes. And Divya Narendra. If you saw the movie Social Network, you know this. And they accused him of stealing the idea of Facebook from their social networking website called Harvard Connection. And it is true because Zuckerberg had to settle with them for $65 million for stealing their idea. So these are society's heroes, the ones who lie, cheat, steal, and betray to get money and power. I saw this funny Instagram post recently, and it says, if a monkey hoarded more bananas than it could eat, while most of the monkeys starved, scientists would study that monkey to figure out what the heck was wrong with it. When humans do it, we put them on the cover of Forbes. Yep, these are the ones who society glorifies and our profoundly sick society says we should aspire to become. While those who are mourning, merciful, meek, poor in spirit, and pure in heart are seen as weak, dumb, and worthless. But interestingly, all of those qualities are the ones that Jesus glorified in the Beatitudes. Let's look at the Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Would you agree that society shuns and ignores people who do these things? Mourning is pretty taboo in our society. So is being meek and merciful and being poor in spirit. Those things are seen as weak. So I'm going to open up for group hermeneutics, group hermeneutic, where if you have an observation from these verses, you get to share them. Just if you could keep it, relatively brief, like no more than a minute, that would be great. Anybody? Any initial? Okay, we got one.
I feel like just even the idea of being poor in spirit is such the antithesis of our society, because we're taught from day one that you should be like expanding and growing and like consuming. And if you're not doing that, if you're actually actively against that, you're really ostracized. It's like, why would you not expand your essentially empire or, have your property, more and more property? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I never see that as something even in like Christian circles that we should maybe be turning away from.
Exactly. Oh, Brenda and I are twinning today. I'm very happy about that.
See if the mic will, I don't know if the mic will go all the way back here. Oh, it's working.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, hi, I'm Brenda. I think there's a time limit also on how long you can mourn the death of a person, a pet, especially pets, but yeah.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, I'm uncomfortable with mourning. That's something that I definitely struggle with.
Getting a workout.
Not a comment, but just an exercise I want to do, because there's so many great people that fit each one of these categories. And sometimes I feel like when I read the Beatitudes, I'm lumping them all together. But what I really want to do is put names down behind each verse, so I can think about how I can be more like those people, and or how I appreciate those people. Because I can already think of a few peacemakers. I can think of a few folks who are really pure in heart. Yeah, I'm going to do that later.
That's a great exercise. Any last ones before we move on? Those were all really great observations, and that's a great exercise, Eric. So go ahead and raise your hands for each of these if society discourages you from being or doing these things. Being poor in spirit, mourning, being meek, hunger and thirst for righteousness, merciful, pure in heart, peacemakers, persecuted for righteousness' sake. I think when you think about what society values, it's almost the opposite of every single one of these, like rich, always like being positive, never mourning, being strong and ruthless, hunger and thirsting for wealth and power, not being merciful, but gotta take, the world by the helm. And who cares about purity in heart? And we are in a society of violence, as Chris has shared. U.S. has had very few years not being involved in a war. And it's not important to be righteous. So with all that being said, is it good that you have a shadow self that society deems unacceptable or inappropriate? I see my shadow self as a good troublemaker. Me before society told me who I should and shouldn't be. I don't mean to be a troublemaker, but my shadow holds healthy and good desires that a profoundly sick society tells me not to have. God made me healthy and good. I believe God made all of us healthy and good. And if I follow my true passions, like being creative, being sensitive, being playful, being spiritual, they'll be deemed wrong by a profoundly sick society. And when you think about it, when you're children, and that's why I had that chair chat question, when we're children, we're most in alignment with our shadows because society hasn't gotten a hold of us yet. They haven't taught us to adhere to social norms rather than fulfill our true desires. And at a young age, we're trained to repress the expression of specific behaviors that are socially unacceptable or inappropriate, moving them into the dark unconscious, like denying those feelings. So, for instance, we're taught at a very young age that there's no real value for resting, there's no real value for playing or being artistic, emotional, needing community, needing other people. That's shunned. Like when you say, I need you, they're like, ooh, you're needy, right? And so we're taught at a very young age, be ashamed of these qualities, deny them, punish them, and wish that part of us didn't exist because they don't serve a capitalistic society, to your point. Because the capitalist society rewards those who are constantly consuming, being strong, gaining more wealth, gaining more power. And yet, these desires are still in us because they're part of us. And I noticed that they pop up when we're most miserable because we become conscious of the fact that we feel empty inside after following all these rules that society tells us would give us fulfillment. If only you made this much money, if only bought a house, if only do this, and then you feel the emptiness inside, and we realize, oh my gosh, maybe society's rules aren't fulfilling me. And I've also noticed that you either adore, despise, or fear those who are living the desires of your true self. I'll give you some examples. When I was in college, after I became Christian, I was told to kind of suppress my more creative side in the sense that I used to write a lot of sensual poetry. And I remember I met this artist, and he was a painter, and he did paint some sensual paintings. And, I'm like, oh, I was fanboying or, whatever, fangirling, fanboying, fan-personing. I was standing him, hardcore. Yeah. And finally he said to me, you're an artist too. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And he's like, oh, you're so creative, I can tell. And I'm like, no. And here I am. I'm a drummer, I'm a poet, I'm a stand-up comedian now, but thank you. But I was so, I just adored people who were like that, because that was my true self. The other thing I noticed is also you either hate the person who's living your dream, your desire. Glennon Doyle, who's the best-selling author of Untamed and Love Warrior, she said in a podcast that she used to despise writers. She couldn't stand being around them. She hated when they spoke. And she realized later it's because they kept reminding her who she was really supposed to be. And finally, the third reaction we have is fear. When I was suppressing my sexuality and my gender identity, I feared queer and trans people. I avoided them like the plague because they reminded me of my imprisoned shadow self and gave me hope for freedom. So if you notice those things about yourself, you're either adoring or hating or fearing something, ask yourself, is it maybe tied to a genuine desire that you have and had since you were a kid? So my journey of discovering my shadow self, after spending almost 15 years abiding by all the rules that society taught me, to follow in order to be happy, I followed the rules of the evangelical church. So that was my profoundly sick society. So for 15 years, some background. Next slide. Before I became Christian at 15 years old, I was a troublemaker. I was a leader of an Asian gang with a gang named Rebels. I know a lot of you might not know that. I was a horny class clown who loved joking around and being the center of attention. And I was bucking against a system and society that had no place for me as a queer, trans Asian man. But once I became Christian, I was told to put away all of that side of myself because it was wicked, carnal, and sinful. I was born again, right? So that means I should abandon all my ways and start living according to my sex assigned at birth. And therefore, I suppressed my shadow self. I became, or I tried to become, this straight, proper, quiet, obedient, serious, celibate woman trying to marry a good Christian man and submit to him. Because that's the goal, right, of being a Christian woman. And I was fully dedicated. I went on mission trips all around the world. I spoke at churches, and I went through 10 years of conversion therapy. And I was taught that the only thing that would keep me safe is not trusting myself, not trusting my desires, because it was evil. And all I could trust is being led by somebody, either my pastor or my husband. This is the Christian value of submission. Yeah, I know, I was freaking dying with that. Can you believe it? I did that for 20 years, oh my God. But my shadow self never gave up on me. I always, during this phase, I kept having dreams of being a man, going on adventures, playing, being free-spirited, and in a relationship with a beautiful woman. Which, thank you, Tatiana. You're helping to fulfill my dreams. So I remember one time after speaking at this big Christian conference in South Korea where people were, impacted by my talk, I went back into my hotel room and I just cried. I never felt more lonely. I had betrayed myself, and nothing is more lonely than betraying yourself. And I prayed every day that God would teach me how to love and be loved well, to teach me the way of life and love, grace and truth, which ultimately led to me embracing my shadow self. The part that I was most ashamed of, the part of me that I wish didn't exist. And that were the desires of this 2-year-old. When I first began to talk, my first words were, "I'm a boy," even though I was assigned female at birth. And God would not relent in loving the real me, my shadow self, the me before society told me who I should be, and helping me love him well. The reintroduction to my shadow self happened in 2021 during the pandemic. I was on an outdoor patio at a Thai restaurant in Berkeley with Charlotte, and we were eating pad thai, and she looked into my eyes and said, "I see a teenage boy locked in jail inside of you, and he's shaking and terrified. He's very brave, cute, goofy, like the Chris Pratt character in Guardians of the Galaxy, Star-Lord. And I wish I could tell him he's okay and you would let him out of where he's locked away. And I just want to give him a blanket and a warm cup of soup." When she said that, I knew exactly who she was talking about. It was the me before the profoundly sick society of the evangelical church told me I shouldn't be. It was right at 15. I was this goofy, playful, Asian troublemaker living a really great life of happiness, even though, it was wild, but it was me. And I began crying when Charlotte said this to me because I thought I had locked him away so well and threw away the key that he no longer existed. He was no longer a part of my life. But when she said it, I knew what she was talking about. It was the me before I tried to crucify him, because Christians told me he is my wicked, sinful, carnal self. And I could see him locked inside of me, locked in the dungeon in the darkest corners of my life, and begging to be free. And I knew he was the reason I was so depressed and lonely inside. I had been depressed for almost over 10 years. And I had betrayed him in the name of being a good person in a profoundly sick society that rewards conformity, silence, and submission. It hates those who threaten the system that keeps us all locked in dungeons inside of our souls. Do you know who the opposite of the shadow self is? Do you want to take a guess? Take a guess who's the opposite of the shadow self. It's the ego. It's the persona you created to please society. That's the opposite of your shadow self. It's the opposite of the anima, as psychologists call it, your true nature. So ego is the false persona you wear as a mask to survive and thrive in this profoundly sick society. Your shadow is the real you that is socially unacceptable and inappropriate that you hide to fit into this profoundly sick society. There are beautiful things in your shadow, like repressed artistic talents and desires for spontaneity, fun, and adventure. And only when you integrate with your shadow self can you find wholeness and acceptance. When your inside matches your outside, reflecting the real you, that's when you will feel the fulfillment. And I'm saying that from experience. So since I began learning and embracing the hidden and suppressed aspects of myself that I rejected and avoided, I've unlocked the best parts of who I am. I'm finally at peace with myself. I fulfilled my little boy's dream of being a man by going forward with gender-confirming treatment. Yes, I do stand up. I enjoy attention, and it is a good thing if you have something beneficial to share with others. I have to preface that because I know a lot of society really shuns people who like attention. I love good ice cream and I love sex. And in doing so, I'm challenging the foundation of a profoundly sick society. And I will tell you, for 10 years I was depressed and feeling so lonely. I don't feel that anymore. And so I feel like our society is so depressed because we are suppressing our true selves. So I would encourage all of us to bring into the light of your consciousness and your shadow self, and find a healthy, expressive outlet for your shadow self. As I shared, for me, it's drumming, having an intimate relationship with my girlfriend, and fighting for trans rights. You know, I'm claiming back my gang side, you know, by fighting for like queer and trans rights. And I encourage you to find ways to pursue your passions that are constructive, not destructive. Embrace rather than imprison your shadow. Initially, when I let my teen self out of prison, he did go buck wild. I gotta be honest, okay? Like, I went a little, I went very extreme, and I admit that, okay? Got out there a little bit more than I should have. But wouldn't you if you were a teenage boy locked in jail for 15 years? So I do want to encourage you, it can be scary letting your shadow self, okay, out, and it might go in, pendulum swing, okay? But as I accepted and nurtured his wildness, I have achieved a balance, a yin and yang. And now that he's more integrated into my life, I'm calmer, I understand myself better, I mellowed out, I'm not going out partying every weekend like I used to. So how do you discern your shadow self's desires? If it's beneficial to yourself and others, consider it. If it harms yourself and others, question it. But ultimately, befriend your shadow with tenderness and gratitude, which has been a theme in this series. So I'd like to end with quotes from a brilliant artist who has embraced the shadow self and challenges the norms and rules of a profoundly sick society. Yeah. Who knows who he is? Bad Bunny. So if you don't know who he is, he's a popular Puerto Rican rapper, singer, songwriter, and occasional professional wrestler. I didn't know that, but that's cool. His music is positive and empowering, and he challenges social ills and injustices. Growing up, he attended church weekly and with his devoutly Catholic mother, and he sang in the church choir, and he bagged groceries to get by. And after becoming famous, he used his fame to start the Good Bunny Foundation, which distributes toys to kids living in poverty in Puerto Rico, raising funds for a boy who needed heart transplant surgery and protests regularly against government corruption. His sexuality is fluid, and he's a queer icon for the outspoken support he has for gay and trans Latins. And he embraces drag culture. So he is considered a troublemaker who's embraced his shadow self and sexuality despite, especially in the Latin culture, like a very strong misogynistic, homophobic, and toxic masculine culture. And I love these quotes that he shared. I don't want to be fake. I'm just being me. And I have the power to break stereotypes and whatever useless rules that society puts on us. And he also shares, for years, decades, the system has taught us to stay quiet. They've made us believe that those who take to the streets to speak up are crazy, criminals, troublemakers. By embracing his bad bunny, he became the good bunny. He follows his true passions, like being an artistic, queer, generous, outspoken man who fights against injustice in our profoundly sick society that tells us this is not how men should be. So I want to tell you, if you are embracing your true shadow self, then most likely you will start bucking against our profoundly sick society, and you will take to the streets to become a troublemaker. Society, capitalistic society, wants us to be a carbon copy of each other. Quiet, obedient, predictable, easily influenced by media and marketing because we have no sense of our true selves. So we aren't guided by our hearts internally, so we're guided by some loud voices externally. But as you tune into those internal true desires, you will begin to liberate yourself and help destroy the broken system that keeps us bound within our hearts. So I'd like to ask you this week to do 3 things. Take a moment to listen to what your shadow is communicating to you. Just listen. See what desires it holds inside. Number 2, spend time reflecting on your kid's desires. What did you like when you were a kid? And that's why I wanted to ask you that question. Like, could it be painting, dancing, poetry, riding your bike, doing magic? I don't know. Like, think about what might excite you. What excited you when you were a kid? And last thing, do one thing that is outside of society's norms, which is loving towards yourself and toward others. So those are the 3 things I'd ask for you to apply. And we will go ahead and invite Chris back up to transition us into communion.
I feel like that deserves another round of applause. Yeah, thank you for honoring us with your story, inspiring and encouraging all of us. This is amazing. What a gift this community is. As we kind of close out our time together, we're going to spend some time in reflection through song. And so I'd like to invite the musicians back up. If you would like to, feel free to get up and walk around, do whatever you need to do to just take moments to meditate, to chew on what's being brought up within you. In the back, there's a table with some communion cups if you'd like to reflect on the sacrament of communion and its meaning. There's also a prompt where people have been responding to the question of what is love that's been ongoing for the last couple months. And so you can just go reflect on what other people have written. There's a Bible back there, too, if anybody wants to grab that and read through the Psalms or anything. There's also a community care basket if anybody wants to put in some cash that doesn't go back to our community, that's to Oak Life Church institutionally. That is just money that's out there for kind of a give and take basket. So if you need some money today for lunch or you're short on funds, that's for you as a sign of love from all of us. So one more round of applause for Aiden for sharing with us, and let's continue to reflect.
God of creation, there at the start, before the beginning of time. With no point of reference, you spoke to the dark and fleshed out the wonder of light. And as you speak, 100 billion galaxies are born. In the vapor of your breath, the planets form. If the stars are made to worship, so will I. I can see your heart in everything you've made. Every burning star, a signal fire of grace. Your creation sings your praises, so will I. God of your promise, you don't speak in vain, no syllable empty or void. For once you have spoken, all nature and science follow the sound of your voice. And as you speak, 100 billion creatures catch your breath, evolving in pursuit of what you said. If it all reveals your nature, so will I. I can see your heart in everything you say. Every painted sky, a canvas of your grace. If creation still obeys you, so will I. So will I. So will I. If the stars are made to worship, so will I. If the mountains bow in reverence, so will I. If the oceans roar your greatness, so will I. For if everything exists to lift you high, so will I. If the wind goes where he sent it, so will I. If the rocks cry out in silence, so created, the light of the world, abandoned in darkness to die. And as you speak, 100 billion failures disappear. Where you lost your life so I could find it here. If you left the grave behind you so alive, I can see your heart in everything you've done. Every part designed in a work of art called love. If you gladly chose surrender so alive, I can see in your heart a billion different ways. Every precious one, a child you died to save. If you gave your life to love them so alive, like you would again 100 billion times, what measure could amount to your desire? You're the one who never leaves the one behind.
And for the final song, can we all stand? This is a new song, I think, to Oak Life as well by Elevation Worship. It's called Do It Again.
Walking around these walls, I thought by now they'd fall, but you have never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, knowing the battle's won. For you have never failed me yet. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You've never failed. I know the night won't last.
we give some love to our musicians for leading us today? Lauren and Blake and Eric, thank you all. As we're still standing and in a way of going out together in solidarity, if you would join me in benediction, a send-off prayer. And you can read along if you want to, or just soak it in. God of love, may we be people who courageously learn to befriend our whole selves, reflecting your healing to ourselves and others as we seek glimmers of heaven here on earth. Give us eyes and ears to sense your love everywhere, especially in the shadows. Be with us now as we go forth to love and serve the world in person or from a distance. Amen. Have a great Sunday, everyone. Thank you all.